Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started. Does it say...
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We figured it out. All right, and we're done. How are you, Mike? I'm doing well.
Good. Thanks for having me on, and sorry about the last couple times. Just things happen.
Don't even worry about it. I completely understand. Things are happening with me too, so it's understandable. So you're in Woodstock, New York, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is this your house or your studio behind you?
This is my home office.
Oh, cool.
I should have done it from my studio, but this computer is a little newer. So
hey, I'm in my kind of office home too, so I completely understand that. Yeah, when I go out to the studio, I get no reception out there. So we'll both pretend like we're business folk here.
Right.
We're here with Mike DuBois. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And Mike is an amazing artist. I wanted to have you kind of describe your work because I know it's kind of indescribable. Like I would say it's trippy, it's colorful, it's witty, it's psychedelic, it's a little bit surrealist, but would you say that's on or how would you describe your work?
Yeah, all of those, and with a little bit of cartoon thrown in there, some of it, but I also do oil painting as well. So it kind of
nice.
Spans a few different genres. The commercial work is a combination of kind of old school techniques, and a lot of times I scan drawings into the computer and then manipulate them and colorize them in there. So there's a real cross breeding of styles here. But yeah, I'd say surrealistic, psychedelic, somewhat cartoonish sometimes. Sometimes I get thrown into the visionary category. I, go to these electronica places and paint, do live painting. So I kind of cross genres in another way. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think anybody who's been alive for the past, 20 years will recognize your work if they look at some of the albums you've done. You work with a lot of famous bands on album cover work and even merchandise, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw you worked with Ryan Adams. He's a personal favorite of mine.
Oh,
on merchandise. Actually,
no, I haven't worked with Ryan Adams.
Oh, really?
No.
I mentioned the one person that you haven't worked with.
Yeah.
I got it right here. It said Ryan Adams. Oh, weird. Okay.
Maybe I have. Let me see. I got a list here too. There's been so many over the years. I might have done some promotional graphics, or sometimes I lose track, in all honesty. Did it say Ryan Adams on my roster? I'm sorry. I may very well may have, but
maybe it was like Ryan Adams and the Cardinals or something. But that's great. That's a good problem to have so many people that you've worked with. You're like, I don't remember who's Black Sabbath. No, I wanted to just read a list of some of the bands you worked with because I definitely cannot remember them. We got the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers Band, Neil Young, Hot Tuna, Tom Petty, Fleetwood Mac, Black Sabbath, Jerry Garcia Band, Michael Hedges, Robert Plant, the Wailers. We've got Levon Helm, who your album won a Grammy, right? One of the albums
the Electric Dirt album. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later, but I want to just reference that. Bob Weir and Rat Dog, Santana, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, just keeps going on. just a few little known.
I know
bands
that
here and
list.
there.
I actually have to add to. I was looking at it the other day because I knew I had a couple interviews coming. I'm like, oh, I forgot this person, but all good, you know.
Well, if you have anybody you want to drop now, please do it. So I wanted to. Well, first of all, never been to Woodstock, New York. How is it over there? How's the art scene?
We're
What's
having
life?
a big artist poster show May 14th and 15th at the Bearsville Theater here that I'm organizing.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, not that you have a reason to come out, but if you did have relatives or something, you could coordinate it with that, you know.
Yeah. So what's Woodstock like? Is there a good, I'm assuming there's a good art scene. I know there's been a musical history there.
Yeah, it's actually a small town in the mountains, and that's why you know, all the musicians and artists have come here for eons, really. It started as an artist colony at the turn of the century and then evolved into several artist colonies in the mountains around here. And then the big festival took place in '69, and that brought in a whole nother group of musicians and artists. And it just keeps evolving. Now there's, you know, a whole cross section of artists, musicians, actors, actresses, but it's a small town, really small. It's like, you know, in the off season now, there's only like 3,000 people here.
Oh, that's cool.
It's nice.
I went to high school in a valley. I don't know if you're familiar with Sun Valley, the Wood River Valley in Idaho. It's kind of a ski town. But
I've been through there, but no.
Yeah, it's similar though. It's just very few people who actually live there, but a lot of celebrities kind of come in and out. There's a vibrant kind of art scene and music scene. I'm sure Woodstock probably is a little more. Were you around for the debacle in the 90s?
I was at both 94, which wasn't a debacle, and then 99, which was a absolute nightmare.
Crazy.
I had, you know, as an artist, we'll talk about this stuff probably because I know you talk about it on your podcast, how an artist makes a living and survives in this world. So I've always done that since I've, you know, been in high school. But I was actually at Woodstock 99. I had a big booth vending my shirts and art and all that.
Oh, wow.
We lived through that whole debacle. And I actually had my video camera there and documented the whole thing. It was a close call, though, because we had a lot of money in product and people just rioted and were burning everything. And it was complete chaos.
Did you have any art that was destroyed?
No, I had a crew that was there working for me, and to defend our space, we all picked up these poles, these tent poles that people were throwing everything. It was like a complete war zone. So I had my crew pick up these tent poles and stake themselves around our booth to guard our stuff, and we managed to keep off the masses, you know, that were like. I'm envisioning like a Lord of the Rings type thing. You can look on YouTube and see it, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm old enough to remember. I wasn't there, but I'm old enough to remember seeing it all in the news and everything. But right. I'm kind of envisioning like a Lord of the Rings type thing, you know, again, off like, you shall not pass.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
well, so
we managed to keep the people away. They were literally tearing apart ATM machines right next to us, smashing them with pipes and all kinds of. I was like, oh my God, where am I? You know?
Yeah, what happened to Woodstock? It's supposed to be peace and love, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, that year, if you look at the history of that festival, it was 1999, and there was a lot of very aggressive music booked at the show, as well as, you know, some mellow stuff. And there was a lot of different types of music, but it was also very, very hot, and it was on an Air Force base, and it was all like tarmac, and there was a whole number of things that led up to the fiasco. But
that's nuts. It's almost like foreshadowing of what was to come, you know, the craziness coming into the 2000s, you know?
It was
insane. Well, so I always start off with origin story, because I always think of like us artists as superheroes. So I would love you to start how you got into art, like how you know, how you started out drawing, whatever you started with, and take as long as you want. Go as many details as you want. I might interrupt you because you kind of have a fascinating story here. Start wherever you want.
So, you know, as a child, I, you know, always enjoyed drawing, as a lot of artists do. And back then there was no video games or cell phones or anything to take us away. So I always like, from a very young age, even in grade school. I mean, and as far back as kindergarten, teachers would say, "Stop drawing," or and pay attention. So I was always like doodling on stuff and drawing cartoons for my friends and all that kind of thing. And
nowadays they would love you with the cell phones. They're like, "Oh, keep drawing, please."
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, I always drew, and I got little jobs in the school newspaper in junior high school and doing posters for bands that were around, local little bands and things like that. And then I started doing some T-shirts for local bands when I was in high school, and posters and graphics. And, we used to use handmade silkscreen presses and stuff like that.
Sure.
In our basement back in high school. And then I went to college and I took visual arts I was here in the Hudson Valley at SUNY New Paltz. So I took a whole cross section of art classes, and that was a real arts community. It still is, about 2 hours north of New York City, and great art school. But took a bunch of art courses and went to New York City a lot and just soaked up the culture, and continued doing posters for bands in the college town that I was in, as well as starting my own company in college, which was a graphic arts design company with me and a couple of friends, and doing it out of our house in New Paltz. And,
that's cool.
And I kept the name of my company still to this day.
What is that? Happy Life?
Happy Life Productions. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were doing underground political cartoons, and remember the days of wheat pasting posters at night when like Shepard Fairey would do, and people like that. So we do those silkscreen posters, and we'd run around at night with the wheat paste and put them up. And
oh, nice.
A lot of punk band sort of stuff. Also, political and environmental posters. Back then, there were different issues, and no nukes and apartheid and things like that. So we were involved with that kind of stuff. And, then I got out of college, and
was that kind of, sorry to interrupt you, was that kind of like self-funded, or did you get funding to do any of that stuff?
I was involved in a couple of student organizations that had student funding for the environmental stuff and some of the political stuff. But the band stuff I did was just on my own.
Yeah.
But, people had always come, a lot of pen and ink stuff. I really was influenced by R. Crumb and some of those early artists at Zap Comics and things like that.
So cool.
So, I was always collecting those comics and books. And
did you have Mad back then? Mad?
Mad. I grew up on Mad. I still have a whole suitcase full of all my old Mad magazines.
I love it. My artist friend and I, as kids, we used to make our own like Mad magazines. We would just do kind of pen and ink, draw them out, and then paste them together and make a little, makeshift magazine. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. Feel free to ask any questions in between or whatever. I'm I don't want to just ramble on. But,
ramble on. Yeah. No. You're good. I asked you to ramble, so please ramble away. I'll be interrupting you a lot more later.
All right. So yeah, after college, I traveled. I was always traveling in between. So checking out where I might want to live, and came out. I've been to California every year of my life since like 1981, because I got a lot of friends out there, and going up and down the coast. I had friends in LA, and a lot of people migrated to Venice back then in the mid 80s. So I was hanging out there. And then I lived up in Northern California for a while. And
you went to San Francisco in 85 or something?
Yeah, I was there for a little while staying with friends. And then I moved way up north to Humboldt County.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Some friends were going to school up at HSU and Arcata. So I'd go down to San Francisco a lot, and had some connections down there, and got involved with a couple of different art organizations. One was called Art Rock. Did you ever hear of them?
Yes, definitely.
They published a lot of books and produced a lot of posters, and they had a gallery down in the Mission area, and I had a show there in like the early 90s. So that was some early stuff. I was working with a lot with airbrush back then.
Oh yeah.
Remember the days of airbrush?
I remember
some people still break them out once in a while.
When I was in high school, there was an artist who just specifically worked with airbrush. Like that was his jam. And I don't see hardly any artists working with airbrush anymore.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of got taken over by Photoshop, right? A little bit.
Yeah. Back then I would draw on, a large illustration board with a pen and ink, and then and do some airbrush and paint with acrylics and do a little more airbrush and combine it all, and
cool.
Get some of those early pieces that you saw on mine. They were all, hand done. Now I've switched to airbrushing on Photoshop, of course, to get very similar effect. I don't have to breathe toxins or wear a mask and all that stuff. So.
I hear you. Yeah, I just came off of a little bit of a resin experiment. So it took my studio like a week to air out. But
man.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. But we got to breathe some fumes. I still have my wife still thinks that I have problems from just oil seeping in through my hands over the years.
Oh.
But hey, it's a moisturizer. That's the way I look at it. Linseed oil.
I wear thin gloves if I'm doing oils sometimes now.
Yeah, I probably should.
If I'm careful with the brush, then you don't really have to wear gloves. But
Yeah, I'm pretty neat too. But I used to work a lot with my hands, and I'd have a rag. Back when I did pop surrealism, I'd be wiping away to get the light kind of to show through the canvas instead of adding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what my teacher taught me, and I would get paint all over my hands. So, but now I use tools. I'm not really doing that anymore. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So that whole pop surrealism thing became big in the mid 90s or early 2000s. I really influenced by that as well in my work, So
yeah, for sure.
One of the guys like Todd Shore and all these other people, and I love that kind of realistic, but it's very surrealistic as well.
Are you a Mark Ryden fan at all?
Mark Ryden, I got all his books. Yeah,
I love Mark Ryden. Yeah, he was a big influence on me before I turned my back on pop surrealism.
Oh, you did? How come?
Well, I mean, I still go back a little bit. Yeah, but now I do a lot of abstract work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, anyway, I saw you have a lot of variation in your work.
Yeah, I like to do. I like to have different genres and subgenres. I kind of get antsy after a while, but each one I've done hundreds, So
yeah.
I just love to be creative. Anyway, so we were in Northern California. I just want you to.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
I don't want to talk about me too much.
That's okay. No, I was living up there for a while, and I did it was kind of quiet up there in the redwoods, so I did a lot of drawing and painting, watercolors, and I launched my first series of T-shirts back then, which is a way for an artist to make a living,
Yes.
Back before the internet, you could sell them at shows or various concerts. You roll in and break out your shirts. And it was a great way to make money and not have to get another job, So.
Were you inspired to do that by working with some of the bands you worked with? Because they always had merch.
Well, I wasn't working with bands, bigger bands so much. This is 1986.
Oh, gotcha.
I did my first shirts, and I had done shirts for smaller bands, but then sold them to them that they would sell at their shows. But then, I went to a couple Grateful Dead concerts, and I saw people raking in a fortune. I'm like, oh, that's a good way to make a little money and do my artwork. And so I started doing that, and rolled in a van, and you set up and make a few $1,000s that night, and you're done.
That's amazing. And you also had the kind of the graphic design background a little bit. It was easy for you. It was ready made for you.
Yeah. So I printed a series of maybe 8 or 9 shirts to start, just different designs. They weren't band oriented; they were just my art. So, but people out there appreciated it, and I was appreciative. And
do you have any of the early designs?
I got an archive in my basement full. I got all. I do. I've got tote bins filled with all one sample of almost everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
A couple of people have asked me throughout the years, "Oh, would you ever part with some of the old stuff?" I've pulled a few out and sold a few, but if you go on eBay, you'll see people are selling them for $300, $400, $500 for some of these old things that,
Yeah.
from going way back. It still amazes me. I look on eBay, I'm like, that's crazy. I remember.
Well, I've got an artist friend whose son sells kind of like vintage band shirts, and he makes a killing doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm sure some of yours pop up in there.
Yeah, no, it's true. Some of the band shirts I've done from 20, 30 years ago, I see them out there for a lot. And I'm like, wow. I don't really have many of the vintage stuff. I really just kept a sample as I would print it and I'd put it away. But
yeah,
I got too many bins in my basement after all these years.
Oh, but, man. I know the feeling. That's one of the hard things about being an artist is having
storage
space, right?
I keep expanding my studio year after year and building, more sections on it because I, later got into doing a lot of posters for bands. And so between my artist proofs, my artist editions, or my samples, I've got flat files stacked to the ceiling,
Oh my God. It's funny, right? When you get into your new studio, you're always like, all right, I'm set. And then you're like 2 years later, I need more space.
Oh yeah, I know.
Every time.
I'm older and I just built another edition on it. I'm like, every year, my wife's like, are you done yet? I'm like, yeah, I gotta stop.
Don't stop. That's one of the great things about being an artist. You can just keep going, keep
that's the
forever.
Thing.
Yeah, I love it.
What I don't see how I could stop. I've started as a young child and will continue through till I can't anymore. It's
for sure.
It's what we do as artists.
It is.
Not every artist. I guess some people retire for health reasons, or maybe they're sick of it, or they don't want to do it anymore. But regardless of making a living or money, I always said, like, if I never had to make another cent in my life, I would continue painting no matter what, because I enjoy it.
I think that's important for people to hear, because I think a lot of artists nowadays, especially with social media, it's kind of easy to, I'm an artist now and I'm, I've got a couple pieces and I'm going to try to sell these, but the passion has to be there, because if you don't have that, you're going to fall on your face at some point.
It'll show in the work too.
It'll show in the work. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
That's the same with music. If you're just creating something as a commodity, it may not have the soul or the spirit behind it, or the inspiration that generated that image or that song. So you could get lucky and maybe people would appreciate it even though you weren't inspired. But my take on it as an artist is, if you're truly inspired and feeling it and you're putting your heart and soul into it, then other people will pick up on that. That's my opinion.
It's kind of infectious.
Yeah.
The energy coming out of it. Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of, I've always been a fan, but I was listening to the Sirius XM David Bowie channel for a while. And I just loved how he just kept going and reinventing himself over the years, all these different personas. He never lost that fire. And you can see it in the work. Here's a guy in his 60s. He puts out an album the next day, and it's just as good, if not better, than everything else that's out there.
Oh yeah.
And he's not copying. He's not mimicking anything. He's still being true to himself. I love that. And you just gotta have that fire.
Bowie's a great example. He's my neighbor. He was my neighbor. He lived like 2 miles up the road from me here.
Oh yeah.
Till the end of his life.
Did you ever talk to him?
I said hello to him a couple of times in the art supply store once, and then at a little, grocery store we have here.
That's awesome.
Very nice guy, and
Sorry, I saw you had
I said it's too bad we lost him.
It's man, I remember the day that he died. I had his new album Black Star. My wife and I just drove around like not Century City, Cheviot Hills by our place. We just listened to his music. It was like a full moon out. It was really eerie. We just listened to it for like 2 hours straight. It was great. But he's like, I never stopped listening to his music for like a year after he died. But I saw you had was it a Ziggy Stardust print that you did?
Yeah, I haven't even released it yet, believe it or not. I did that art for the newly renovated Bearsville Theater. I did a bunch of murals there for their renovation over the last 2 years during COVID. So I had a little more time, and there was a big renovation of it's a historic theater here in Woodstock that Albert Grossman, he was the manager of Dylan and Hendrix,
Yeah.
whole number of other artists. And there's been a lot of renovation going on there. And so I created that portrait of Bowie for that. And
so good.
I got it licensed by the people that manage the Bowie estate. And I still haven't released it yet, believe it or not.
Wow.
Did you see it on my website? I guess I put it up there, but it wasn't for sale yet.
I saw it on Instagram.
Oh, okay. I wonder
if you had a picture of it on Instagram.
Or I put it there. Right. That's right. Yeah.
So, well, is it a secret or when are you going to release it?
No, it's right here on this list that I've been looking at all week. I'm like, I got three things: Bowie, the band, and a Janis Joplin that were all licensed by the same group. And, I printed these posters like a month ago, and I've just been busy. So like sometimes I time things, and
if
I've got enough going on, I'll hold things off and then release them when,
I know you're busy. I know you've got your own, you've got your own business. You do the graphic design, you do the prints, you do painting, you do the album covers, merchandise. It's hard.
I have a store, a gallery. I know it's too much.
How do you do? I mean, you're doing more than I'm doing, and I can't keep up with myself.
I know.
I completely understand. But I wanted to talk to you.
There's a process, and I'll tell you about it. How to do, how I can manage that. And as an artist yourself, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. Sorry,
Go
and
ahead.
also I'd love to talk to you about licensing a bit for artists. But first, I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, process is everything for an artist if they want to get their work out there. It takes a lot of self-discipline and forethought in terms of like, well, what do I want to do? Where do I want to market my stuff? What vehicles are available to me? And like I said before, I grew up in a time where I had to go around the concerts, sell shirts, and then I started a wholesale company and did trade shows.
Yeah,
the Javits Center and in Long Beach, I did the surf show out there a few times.
Oh, cool!
In the '90s, and then anyway, a bunch of trade shows, Las Vegas, and so I built up clientele for my wholesale business that way, and that business still functions to this day. We ship shirts and clothing and posters and other items with my art on it all over the country. And
don't you do international as well?
We do some to Europe, but shipping is very expensive, so we don't.
It's getting worse right now too.
Yeah.
So
my wholesale business was the backbone of my bread and butter for years in terms of marketing my stuff and on a mass level, I guess you could say, where we're producing shirts and posters and keeping them on the shelf and taking orders, and orders are flowing every day, and UPS is coming by, and that kind of thing's been going on for, we started that company in 87. So,
oh, wow.
But it started very small, and now it's grown to a point where it just sustains itself,
Can I ask, how many people do you have on your team?
It's small, we employ, between our store and gallery and then our wholesale business, about it varies from time to time, maybe 10 people.
Okay. That's solid. Yeah.
And then I subcontract a lot is the thing. I don't own a print shop myself anymore. I subcontract all my printing, but it's all friends that started their own businesses in the area here, and then some are in other parts of the country that I sub to as well. So
you work with people that in all those areas.
Yeah, it's great.
That's
a lot of us grew in this business together, throughout the years. Yeah, so the wholesale business was one way to support myself as an artist, because, artists, we all love to create. That's what we really want to do. It's like, oh, how can I buy myself time? Time is what we really need.
Yes.
To think of an idea, to execute it, and to make it decent and, presentable, or maybe you just want to do it for yourself and it doesn't matter. And some people can, just work a full-time job and do art on the side. But if you want to support yourself as an artist, you have to come up with a way to do it, which you have. And I'm telling you how high I have. So I had the wholesale business, and then.
And Mike, can I say something? It's ironic that kind of the more successful you become, the less time it seems like you have to create, right? Have you found that in your own career?
It's true. But then I set up systems that function on their own so I can go do art. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's always fluctuating, but I have to live in time blocks. Like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to do office work and answer emails. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to go check in on my gallery and store, or check on with my manager on our orders and things. And then, later on or early evening, I'll go to the studio and do art, and nobody bothers me for several hours. And so it kind of goes like that. That's a basic scenario. To break it in time slot if you're managing a lot, but
it's like little bite-sized bits.
What's that?
Little bite-sized bits.
Yeah. But, I have to have other people, professional people, deal with things that I don't want to deal with, like accounting and other things like that. So, otherwise you're never going to get any art done.
I know. Tell me about it. Yeah.
So,
I've gotten to a place where I have to carve out. I'm lucky if I carve out about 2 to 3 hours a day to paint.
Right.
And that's great. At least I'm getting a chance to paint every day, but the administrative stuff, all the marketing, all that takes up pretty much the full day from 7 a.m. to about noon.
Yeah.
And, and then you got the miscellaneous stuff. You throw the podcast in there, and then, wait, I got to paint. I got to put out some new product. But it sounds like you have that even on overdrive. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's okay though. Running my own business, I can take time to go for a run, which is important. Keep my exercise going and keep your head straight. And, it's like, and be thankful, because otherwise stress can, wipe you out if you're trying to do that. But so I found for myself, okay, well, I need to take a break at 3:00 and I'll get back to whatever at 4:30 or 5 or whatever. You know what I mean? And so
don't force
it. You
it.
have the freedom, to choose to how you want to manage your time. But that's not easy for most artists. I've got tons of artist friends, and a lot of them struggle, some don't, and a lot of them have created other systems for themselves that work. It's very idiosyncratic as to how I don't think any artists have an identical system. We all have our own things. And so like you said, the more successful I became throughout time, the more emails I get. Oh, can you do this or that? I have to turn down a ton of stuff these days just because I don't want to drive myself crazy. And I'll take on certain projects, but I also have to keep my own art going.
And you have to have a quality of life, right?
Yeah. And I've raised 2 kids through all this.
Oh, wow.
On top of it.
You're braver than me. I've been so afraid to do that because I'm like, wow, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do anything. But my wife and I are getting close. So it's good to hear that you've been able to manage all that.
Well, I don't know if you want to say, you don't have to, but how old are you now?
I just turned 27. No, I just turned 43.
Oh, okay. You better hurry up then, man.
I know. My wife, thankfully, is younger than me.
Okay, that's good.
That's good. Yeah. But it was just, for me, it was one of those things where I was working. I graduated school. I focused on art, and then I decided to wait tables because I wanted to give myself incentive to be able to keep going, to quit my job to be a full-time artist. And that took me a lot longer than I expected. And then I started to get my business off the ground going, my art. I started selling. I started developing my collectors and, making a profit. And then it was like, oh yeah, now I can maybe think about having kids. So it just took a long time,
Mm-hmm.
It would have been great if I would have been able to do it in my 20s, but I don't think I could have taken care of myself in my 20s,
Yeah, I didn't do it. I did it in my mid 30s, but
perfect. Yeah.
It was a good time. And
that's a good time.
Kids just got incorporated into things, and it's not as bad as you think. Go ahead. You'll have a good time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's fun.
I'll have my wife listen to this. Yeah, no, I I keep telling myself that too. And, I'm excited about kind of taking a little bit of the focus off of some of the things that I'm doing, having that distraction to maybe snap me out of some stuff, give me, focusing on some other avenues and maybe develop some new ideas that I never thought of before. I think that'll be cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
anyway, so I wanted to get back to you. So this is great. I do agree with you. Everybody's system is different, but I think we agree that each artist, to be successful, you do have to have a system, because
Mhm.
I know for me, I did the thing for 10 years where I was like, people will find me, they'll find my art. And I was just,
Right.
drinking myself into an oblivion and not doing anything with my art except for doing shows. And that was not paying the bills. So
Yeah.
once
Yeah,
I got
no,
in
I was doing that too. I would
oh
do
yeah.
art. I did a lot of festivals throughout
Yep.
the years, which were fun. My friends came, or when I had kids, my wife would stay home with the kids, but I'd still drag a crew of friends, and we'd set up a big booth, and music could be playing, and we'd make thousands of dollars at these festivals for years. For like 30 years, I did festivals and stuff.
Wow.
It was fun.
You were pounding the pavement
Well,
in a manner of speaking,
to
pounding
a
the
certain
grass.
extent, yeah. And then I had crews that would go out and do shows for me, and I still do, as a matter of fact. I stopped doing them about 10 years ago,
Okay.
but
That's nice.
yeah. And we
So
opened our store and gallery in Woodstock here, so it's like having a festival every day ongoing, which is fun, but it's stable, and we have people that run it, and people come from all over, and come back, and it's great.
is
So
the store is called Happy Life
yeah,
Productions also?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that. Do you do any shows there, or do you just basically sell, posters, prints, merchandise, stuff like that?
We've had a couple of artist shows there, but I found that speaking of time and energy, in the first few years of having the gallery, I did like 3 different shows with various artists from other parts of the country and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like taking the whole gallery down and then promoting it, and getting everything in order, and then just taking the artist stuff back and shipping it back, and then everything around it. Like that's a whole business in and of itself. So
It is.
now I just represent different artists, and it's ongoing. When I need more stuff from, I just call them up, and it's a small gallery, and I mostly deal in limited edition prints.
Yeah. Cool. Now,
Rather than originals,
Yes. Yes. No,
Not that I don't
definitely.
want to do originals, but rent's expensive, and I need stuff people on the street are going to walk in and buy. And
then you need
what they
insurance
do.
on those pieces too.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. Do you have a place where any artist listening to this, like, can submit work to you, or is it limited at this point?
People send me emails, or they come by the store, and
Okay. So they can
Yeah.
check you out on Instagram and maybe email you if
Yeah.
they're okay.
Mhm.
That's great.
Or they can check out my email's on my website too, MikeDuBois.net.
MikeDuBois.net. Okay, cool. And then your Instagram is at Mike DuBois.
Yeah,
Just simple.
that's it.
Well, I wanted to ask you, in addition to kind of pounding the pavement and learning to get, put some systems in place, it's interesting how you developed a relationship with all these bands. How did that happen?
That happened. I guess it was a variety of ways. Let's see. I got some contacts through. There was a company called Not Fade Away Graphics back in the day, and they were obtaining licenses. They were around before me, and so they were in the area here where I live now, and they needed some artists to do artwork for the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers and some people back then. So I was recruited to do commissioned art
Yes.
for them. So that was a doorway in, and then other licensees saw my work, and they'd start to contact me. And then as time went on, I built up a roster of managers and licensees, and then I'd check in with them, throughout the year. Hey, I'm free for a while. You need anything? And then so it was a reciprocal relationship with bands and licensees. And
That's
I mean,
cool.
I have a couple notebooks over here just filled now with contacts, though. But I still don't reach out that much because I get contacted enough that I don't want to take on too much. So
yeah, it's kind of
in
better
other words,
that way too.
Once one door opens, others seem to open.
Yes, assuming you're delivering and you're doing a good job, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, which of course you did. So basically,
yeah, there's always deadlines, and then there's always things they want changed, and then you have to, if you miss those deadlines or those changes, they'll dismiss you and, cancel you. They didn't call it cancel back then, but you don't get any more calls. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, they pause
And,
you.
and a lot of them know each other, so they're like, "Oh, that guy, don't call him."
They know each other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why your reputation is so important. I work with a gallery. I don't know if you know. You say you come to California a lot, and even done some stuff in the surf community. I work with a gallery in Hermosa Beach called Chalkbox, and the owner is the owner is a surfer too.
Yeah.
And it's funny how people burn bridges. Like we have some people who are just like, oh, fuck Shockbox. They didn't get me into the show. And it's like, yeah, but you might get into a next show, like you don't want to burn a bridge before it's even started. So
I know.
Yeah, that's important.
So that's one thing I've always tried to do, not burn bridges. That's great. That's a good piece of advice that you mentioned that I adhere to.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless somebody totally is somebody that does you wrong or is a complete asshole, it's like, then I'm like, fuck them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've done that many times. Yeah. Thought something was good. And then
you close the door and like, I'm not going back there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And also some of these people that are unprofessional, they're not going to last anyway. They're not going to stand the test of time. Right. But I was interested because I know you were in bands also, right? What kind of band did you play in?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in playing in bands in the late 70s and early 80s. And it was mostly punk bands and new wave bands in upstate New York where I grew up. We were playing.
I was in a punk band too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun.
Cool.
Ramones style stuff and all that early stuff, The Clash. But a lot of it was originals. There were a ton of clubs and, you only had to be 18 to drink and the clubs would be open till 4 a.m. So, we all had fake ideas. We started playing in those kind of places when I was 15. So,
oh, wow.
We did all that. And I still play with friends and we play parties around here, private parties, but we do a mix of stuff now. Some of it's free form, psychedelic jazz stuff. Sometimes we'll do a cover show. Like this summer we did a whole Tom Petty and Rolling Stones show. And,
nice.
And, we just do things for fun now. My first choice in life was like, oh, I want to be a musician.
Right.
And tons of my friends went down that road and a few of them were successful, but you know how it is in the music world. It's like, that's why I did music art, because I could still be involved in that world. And I didn't have to do the struggles of dragging stuff around for no money and like always struggling to eat. So that's the key to why I do what I do. I was a musician. I wanted to be in the music world, but I had some talent in art. So I applied it to doing that in the music world. And luckily I succeeded, I guess,
You made that connection for me because that's what I was seeing when I was reading your bio. I was like, this has got to be kind of a way in, the love of music, and then just kind of keeping up with that. Yeah.
And so because of that, I've gotten to go backstage and meet, uncountable amounts of great legendary musicians my whole life. And it's been awesome.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah. It's one of those things. I had an experience too. I was in a punk ska band. We played the Warped Tour. We met a bunch of like big bands, like hung out backstage with people. But it's one of those things where, you're lugging your equipment around. You're barely making ends meet if you are at all, and then a lot of this stuff's going back towards equipment, the money that you're making. And then you're also dealing with other people who have their own egos.
Everybody's arguing or nobody can agree,
Yeah. And as an artist, you're kind of like, okay, I can make my decision.
Exactly. Yeah. And you whittled it down. Those are all my thoughts that have taken place of it. I love playing music more than anything, and I'm glad I still do. And, if there was a way to have been able to make it, or we got the right break at some point in time in history, that's a different thing. But you're either like up here as a musician or you're down here.
So true.
There's very little in between. Although I know a lot of local bands that play and, but they all have to have day jobs.
Sure. Well, I wonder if that's changed a bit too. I know selling art has changed. I wonder if like getting your music on Spotify, for example, doing things like that, if you can actually kind of make ends meet a little easier nowadays without being so famous, probably
Maybe
not,
a
right?
little bit, but streaming services pay so little. It's very difficult for musicians, as you may know.
Yeah,
I
it
know a
is.
ton.
Yeah, I saw you playing. I was stalking your Instagram a little bit before this. I saw you playing drums on there.
Oh yeah,
Is that your
that's my
instrument?
little, yeah.
Nice. That's so cool.
What did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
No, I said, was drums your instrument then?
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Very cool. Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
I wanted to, switch gears a little bit and talk about, you said you did, maybe this is what we were talking about earlier, but I saw that you had painted murals with the Syracuse Art Squad. What's that all about? Is
Yeah,
that,
that's where I grew up in
yeah.
upstate New York, and a friend of mine worked for the city, and it was like a city beautification committee, and so
Yeah.
he hired me to paint these big murals on the sides of bridges and railroad trestles and old buildings and things like that. So that was
Cool.
fun back then.
That's
Yeah.
fun. That's
And
also tough.
even when I was in high school, I would do murals on in people's houses and things like that.
Nice.
Early on.
One thing that I'm seeing from you a lot is you definitely got around from an early age. Like you were getting your art out there in public places. You were doing T-shirts. You were drawing. You're doing like the graphic design. How important was that for you, just to start making connections with people?
It's really funny you ask that, because I think about that. I'm still the same exact person in that regard now that I was then. I was a social person. I enjoyed social interaction, and I was good at art, and people saw I could do it way back when I was a kid even. So they hired me to do things, and it was sort of a natural thing. And that's why I'm still doing the same kind of stuff now, but at a different level,
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's cool. Well,
Sometimes personalities are important in where the road takes you,
For sure.
Like if you're not good at communication or socializing, but you're a phenomenal artist, which I do know a lot of people like that through my history.
Me too.
Have a hard time actually getting your stuff somewhere you might want it to be.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the reason why I do this podcast, because I used to be that person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to develop some of those skills to be able to talk to people, talk about your art, like talk to gallery owners, talk whoever you're trying to get,
I know. I mean, I don't always enjoy it. A lot of times I'm like, I just want to go lock away in the studio, and I don't want to deal with anybody, or
yeah. I mean, I still get anxiety about it myself, but I just tell myself I got to do it. And I do it, and I try to do it from a genuine place. And once you do it more, you just realize a lot of these fears are just kind of unfounded.
That's true. That's true. What you said there is very important for artists. We create our own barriers, and which gives us anxiety. And then it's easier just to say, I'm not going to do that. Like, I still don't like public speaking. I've been asked to do things, and I have done a little teaching. When my kids were in school, I'd go there and help with the art class and things. But like, I've been asked to do some lectures on my art and stuff like that. I don't have that in me. I don't want to stand in front of a group or a crowd and, do a multimedia presentation. Although it would be good for me, it's almost too much for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like you really need to. No, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to doing like a speaking engagement. I would only do it, honestly, if it paid really well.
Yeah.
But, and some of those some of those gigs pay well. But I don't know. Yeah. Luckily you don't seem like you really need, you've got so many other things going, so many irons in the fire. You don't really need to do that. It doesn't seem like just talking.
I like to be more behind the scenes doing cool things and then manifest things. And then people come to me or later on or whatever, but it takes a lot of thought and concentration to create whatever it is you're creating. And to be distracted constantly is that's anxiety provoking to me.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah. And that's what I liked about what you were talking about earlier about kind of breaking it down into little segments of what you do. That's where a lot of the anxiety comes from, is like, oh shit, I got this to do. And I got this to do tonight. And I got this to do tomorrow. And then I got this interview coming up with Mike, on Thursday and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's fine. That'll all come. You just break it down into what you can manage in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the key. In fact, my system is, I have long-term goal lists, and then I break it into almost monthly lists. And then I got a pad on my desk where I scribble down immediate things. And then I chop it all into my days of the week. Well, I'm going to do this today, this today. And the stuff that's not as important, like I've put off changing the rear blinker light on my car now for 3 weeks. I'm going to get pulled over one of these days. And I got to go there and get the light bulb. You know what I mean? But like thousands of little things that we all have to deal with. But
sure. Oh yeah, keeping up your studio, keeping up your house.
If you don't keep organized about those 1,000 things, they all come crashing down on you. You get anxiety. You got, I can't. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to dig myself out of this hole I'm in. You know what I mean? Because
and then it's kind of like,
so. In other words, just chip away at it in an organized fashion. It's just like doing art. Oh, I can't do art. I don't know where to start, or I don't know. Well, it's start it. You just start it. Let it flow. And then build upon it. That's the whole philosophy, That's the whole life philosophy, Go with the flow, build upon it, and keep flowing down the river and on your path. And that's the way I look at it. And I'm sure that's not for everyone,
I think it's spot on. And I'm always preaching about that. Like, even when you're not motivated or inspired to create something, a lot of times just getting in there and starting a movement with the brush or whatever you use, if you're a sculptor, whatever, starting some movement, and then the inspiration comes, then you got something to build off, and pretty soon you got a piece of art, and you can always rework that. But just kind of getting in there and starting out with one little piece is everything.
Every once in a while, it's hard for me to finish. Like, I've got this one piece I've been working on for 4 years, and it's going to come out. It's a really cool oil painting, but I work on it in the winter, and then I get on to other things and I put it aside. But that's not common of me. Usually I like to get it done and finish it, and then I feel good it's done. But I got 3 or 4 pieces that are oils that I have to let them dry, and I'm going to come back to it. And I am. Mm-hmm. They're still right next to my easel. So
that's great. Well, tell me about your oil paintings, because I know a lot of your other stuff, your album covers and those types of designs. Are your oil paintings kind of in the similar genre, or are you doing something different?
I sometimes I just do abstract stuff, but I don't really even bust that out or show it. Those are just, for exercises. Someday, maybe. But a lot of my oil paintings are almost like what you were saying earlier, in the pop surrealism genre, where mushrooms growing and all kinds of crazy things happening. But it takes me a lot of time to get all the shading and everything.
Oh my God.
And even then, when I'm done with those oil paintings, I may scan that into the computer and then even zoom in and tighten up a few things even more. So I do that as well,
because the work is very detailed.
Yeah.
Do you ever now create these pieces without first doing it as a painting?
I have a Wacom tablet. You know what that is?
Yeah, I don't have one, but I know about it. Yeah.
That has been a game changer. And I got the big, 20-inch one.
Oh, nice.
And so you can draw right on it, and you got all your tools, and you can paint. So I can actually start a lot line drawings on my Wacom tablet and complete a whole piece on that. And it would be almost indistinguishable from one I did with pen and ink and colorized it. Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, you go on my website, you can look at, you wouldn't be able to tell what I did as a painting and what I did on the Wacom almost now, because the tools have become so much better over the years. Yes. And I use Photoshop. Yes. Layer upon layer upon layer, translucent layers and blending layers, and
Yeah.
And sometimes I just do completely crazy things. Like if you look on my Instagram, some of the last 2 things I put up there, my wife took a picture of a cactus root recently when she was in Arizona, and I scanned that and turned it into this crazy thing. Did you see
cool.
it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. This was like what? One of your last posts, right?
It was like 2 weeks ago, maybe.
2 weeks ago.
A couple of things I put up there. So those are like fun, expressive things, but I got a pretty good response. So I may do some prints of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the best thing about it is it's so limitless to what you can do now. The different mediums
now you can throw it up there. Oh, people like it or they don't like it, or who knows, you know?
Yeah, it's right. That is a good segue into NFTs. I saw you are dabbling a little bit. Is that something that you're going to be focusing on more, or how do you feel in general about NFTs?
Well, it's interesting. The whole concept is a little odd to me in terms of like owning a piece of digital art. If I sent you a high res visual or of one of my paintings, then you keep that. But the difference is the blockchain thing and everything like that. I'm learning a lot about it, but I'm working with somebody in Britain who got a hold of you, musicart.io.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so they're doing like 5 or 6 of my pieces as NFTs, and I'm letting them deal with the whole thing because I don't know enough about it to really talk that much about it. In other words, like they set up the royalty payments and the way it's being distributed and all the promotional materials and everything like that. I'll provide content for it.
That's great. That's exactly the way I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. Are you going to be doing any sort of manipulation, or is it basically you're kind of treating it almost like a digital print?
These first few are almost like digital prints. Manipulation meaning making them animated,
making them move. Making them animated.
Yeah, I do plan on doing that if this whole thing moves ahead.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I read a lot of things about NFTs, like it's a fad right now. It's going to die tomorrow. It all depends on the cryptocurrency and all these other variables. So I'm just rolling with it, not rushing into it, and seeing what happens.
That's smart.
I just did a cover for a magazine that's based in LA. It's a weed magazine called Skunk Magazine. Yeah. So I got a feature in there this month and the cover, and they want to do NFTs too, my stuff. So.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that hasn't come out yet?
It just came out.
It just came out. Okay. I'll take a look at that. Skunk Magazine. Anybody listening, check that out. That's amazing. Yeah. I'm talking to a friend. We're going to be working on it a little bit too. I started setting up NFTs. I'm like you. I was interested in them. I've learned about them. I have a friend who's doing really well with NFTs. He's basically stopped doing his other art, and he's just doing NFTs. And he's saying, I'm going to pay off my mortgage. And I was like, okay, great. Amazing. Yeah. So there are people like that. And I do also think, it is a bubble. The bubble will burst, but I do think it's still going to be here. It may not be making as much money as it's making now, or crypto, but it's going to be around, I think. So I think it's good for artists just to kind of know a little bit about it at very least.
Oh yeah. I know. I'm learning more about it from these folks.
That's good.
I don't know enough about it to try to do it on my own though.
Oh yeah. Although from what I hear, if you can just upload it and you set up like Coinbase or something where you can convert the money, you basically can just kind of put up like a limited edition prints, and then people buy those and they can resell them. I mean, have
you done that yet?
I started doing it, and then I had like a weird little hacking thing going on, and I got hurt, and I was like, all right, I got to table this. So that's on my to-do list for like the next month. I'm going to start doing it. Yeah.
Or find someone that knows how to do it and that can help. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to do.
And I'm going to start out by putting out some of my old kind of iconic pop surrealist pieces. Like I've got a Heisenberg piece I did. I'm going to start there because I think those will be more collectible and just see how it does. And if it does great, then, I'll pursue it more. But I don't know. Well, I wanted to talk to you about licensing a little bit because that's another thing. I've had some artists on before who have licensed their work. I've done very minimal licensing. Can you talk a little bit about licensing? And if you're an artist who is interested in getting into it, like how do you get into licensing your work?
Well, I've licensed my images to, a variety of product companies, as well as license them to bands or companies that manage licenses for bands, right? So there's different types of licensing. There's music licensing, imagery, and then there's product licensing. So, I license to several different companies that produce everything from tapestries to various products for around the house, like pillows or mugs or things like that, magnets, or, a whole number of things throughout the years. Incense, all kinds of crazy things. So, when an artist licenses to a company, they have to obviously have a signed contract. That's first and foremost. And then you'll negotiate the percentage you're paid per item in that product line. And then you'll get a quarterly statement with how many of those units they sold. And you'll get a check with it, or a deposit into your account.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And you can go to trade shows. There's the Magic Show in Los Angeles. Well, with COVID, I think a lot of the trade shows have been on hold. So Magic was a good place I used to go, and before that, it was the New York City Fashion and Boutique Show. And there's also like Comic-Con and all these other trade shows. There's a whole licensing show that used to take place at the Javits Center here in New York. And you could just go from person to person with your information or a small portfolio or an iPad and show people your stuff and sit down and talk with a representative and work out a deal there, or they'll get back to you, whatever it is, Or you can just search online and send people your information and contact. And
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, now you can just Google them and submit your work. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the old days, it was the trade shows. And I don't seek out a lot of licensing because I have quite a bit right now. And it's a great way to go, though. Like for me, I want to feel good about the company and the product that it's on.
Yes.
So that's what you have to really sift through and find, what you feel good about, or maybe it doesn't matter and you'll just sell it to anybody. But they also have in-house artists, a lot of these companies. So,
I've known some artists who've worked in-house. It's also just a great way to make some passive income, right? Like making money while you sleep.
It's been great. I've licensed to a whole number throughout the years. Some of my really good licensing deals have been with the old large format posters. You flip through the poster rack at Spencer Gifts and all this stuff. And so I've licensed to all that throughout the years. And that's been great.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions. I don't want to take up your whole day.
That's okay.
Okay, cool. So one of them is Bill Walton.
Bill.
I was a big basketball player back in the day, and I love Bill Walton. So Fire on the Mountain and Beyond, I guess you've done a couple things, right? You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I met Bill Walton through Grateful Dead, who he's a big fan. And, he saw my art. I've been working for the Grateful Dead since 1986. So, and continue still to this day with the individual members and all the various incarnations of the band that have taken place since then. And
that's awesome.
Bill's always been on the periphery, but he found me through them, quite a few years ago, and reached out to me to do the graphics, illustration, and cover for his book that came out several years ago.
Yes.
You ever see it? It's called Back from the Dead.
Yes. I have not read it.
Autobiography. So I did all that with Bill, and then I did some posters for him, and helped him create a few other products that he still goes on the lecture circuit, and he brings all these things with him, and sells the posters and signed prints and all this kind of stuff. And
that's cool.
He's been a great friend and a blast to work with. And I love Bill. And he's also supported me throughout the years by coming out to some shows that I do in Boulder, Colorado for 3 years.
Oh yeah, sure.
And
I was born in right near there in Denver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love
Well, I
Boulder's a
would
great
do
town.
this show in conjunction with the Dead and Company playing at the wherever they played there. But Bill would come out and he'd do the show with me, and we'd have a big crowd, and he'd talk, and we'd sell posters, and it's great.
That's so cool. And then he has a Fire in the Mountain. What is it? A
Fire on
documentary
the
that's on
Mountain. Yeah,
ESPN.
he did that video. I did a little bit. He used some of my existing art and incorporated it into it throughout the movie a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
Did
cool.
you see it? It's a great.
I have not seen it, but it's on my list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can watch it on YouTube, I believe.
I'm sure. Yeah. Especially if it was released on
Netflix, maybe. I forgot, but
I just still have his voice ringing in my head. I used to play basketball.
Yeah, he narrates the whole thing.
Yeah. Never jumped a pass. That's horrible. Yeah.
That's a good imitation.
I used to hear him all the time. I used to watch all the old Chicago Bulls games when I was a kid because I was obsessed with Jordan and Pippen. But
man.
Yeah, but Bill Walton's a great player too. That's so cool. So I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, get his book. Get his book. If I had I might have an extra one to send you.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Email me your address. I'll put one in the mail to you.
Oh, that would be awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you. I'll do a little thing.
I know you don't have a lot of time, but try to thumb. It's a very interesting read too.
I'm sure. Yeah. Did he ever do his Audible version with self narration?
He did.
He did.
Do I have any of those around here? I don't know if I have any left. I'll look, but
that would be cool with his voice.
You can just work and listen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love that. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I used to read all the time, but I just don't have the time anymore.
I know. I hate to say it. Me too.
I hate it.
I grew up reading like crazy, and I don't read as much as I would like to.
I know. It used to be kind of a place where I got a lot of my inspiration. I still get it from audiobooks, but I think the last person that I really dove into was Charles Bukowski, and I love Bukowski, but yeah, I just need to find some more time. But I would love to check that out. What was the last thing I wanted to ask you before we went into? I always ask some questions at the end, but I feel like I had one more thing I wanted to ask you here.
Okay.
Well, Happy Life. We talked about that a little bit. Is there anything else you want to say about Happy Life? And then I also wanted to ask you, how often, if any at all, do you do exhibitions anymore, like live exhibitions?
Well, Happy Life is a wholesale company, and we also have a retail website, happylifeproductions.com, and it's a hold on one second.
No worries.
It's a product line that consists of mostly shirts, some posters. See, I have two different websites. My limited edition prints and posters are on MikeDuBois.net, and then Happy Life Productions has a number of different products, that from women's clothing and T-shirts to some lithographs that are not limited edition, lower priced prints, and note cards and stickers and more pop art sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been very successful, and believe it or not, the last 2 years of the pandemic, I thought all these stores were going to close. I thought we were done. I thought we were completely, done. But they were like our two busiest years. I'm still scratching my head. I'm like, what is going on around here? And even for my art too, I'm sure too. It's like, it's been crazy. So
I had my biggest selling year in 2020. Crazy.
I know. Same with me, I think, after all these years of doing this. And
it's insane. Well, people had time on their hands, and they were staring at their walls. They wanted to beautify their place. Have you noticed a little bit?
I say that, but our retail store and gallery, same thing.
Really?
Well, we're only 2 hours north of New York City and a lot of metropolitan areas. I think people wanted to get out of the city and come up to the mountains and walk around and stuff like that. So
that makes sense.
I think that was part of it.
Hey, nothing wrong with having a little good luck from time to time.
So that,
right?
And then, wait, what was your second question? Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks. I wanted to ask you if you do any kind of live exhibitions anymore of your work.
Oh, I haven't done any shows in galleries in quite a while. I'll still go do a live painting occasionally at a festival here and there.
Cool.
And there's another artist near here, Alex Gray, who, before COVID closed everything down, he would have these monthly full moon parties. You know his work at all?
I don't think so, actually.
Anyway, so I'd go live paint down there occasionally.
Cool.
But I don't seek out gallery shows and things like that. It's a ton of work, as you know.
It's a lot of work.
So
I'm selfishly kind of asking because I've started shying away. I did hundreds of shows in the past, and I found a way to sell my work a different way, and I don't have to do them anymore. But I still get that kind of itch from time to time, like I should be doing shows. I should be doing more shows. And so I'll do some from time to time, but my bread and butter is like selling online, selling my stuff online, So I mean, even with the gallery that I'm with, we sell our work online too. So
yeah, I saw the platform you were on for selling. That looks pretty good though. I forgot the name of the website.
Was it the website, or was it I'm on a handful of art marketplaces that take a percentage.
Yeah, it was an art marketplace. I forgot the name of it. I think you interviewed the person.
Art Finder, maybe.
Art Finder, that was it. Yeah.
They're one of my best. And then I sell through my website. I sell through the galleries a little bit, but 70% of my sales come from online.
From places like that, though, or your own website?
Both. It could be Instagram. It could be one of these art marketplaces like Saatchi, Singular Art Finder. It could be website. Sometimes through the gallery. The gallery also is on Artsy, which you have to be a gallery to have that. So we sell on Artsy a bit too. So yeah, most of it comes from online, and then especially with the pandemic, I mean, there was no other way to do it. Yeah. But I think
same with me. I haven't found those other artist platforms, or I haven't seeked them out as much.
Yeah.
But when I create a limited edition print and I drop it on my socials, the orders come flooding in. So it's great.
That comes with you having a great reputation. Also, people know.
And we build our mailing list, and then we do constant contact when I drop new things, and do promotions and things like that.
That's
which
great.
Is important. So,
well, I love it. I love to see that you still got the fire. You're still cranking out new work and selling on all these different platforms. But I wanted to ask a little bit. I do like rapid fire. Some of these you've already answered, but I ask routines, superpower, biggest failure. Like, what's something that you do to get yourself like in the creative mindset, even when you're not feeling it? Is there something that you do? Is there a go-to, or it could be a daily routine that helps you? It could be anything.
Yeah. In all honesty, I'll take a couple hits of weed and I'll go running. And then,
nice.
Between the serotonin, the THC, and the oxygen, it's great,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a stoner that sits around, but it helps me get in the zone. In all honesty, it's not for everybody, but it's worked for me,
Yep.
So I do that, and it really helps. That if I've had a lot of things on my mind and I just go to the studio and I got to get out of it, I'll take a couple hits and I'm good. And
nice.
Again, maybe I shouldn't say that on the public forum, but
no, of course.
I don't care. It's legal here and whatnot.
It's legal here too. Smoke them if you got them. For me, I get paranoid, but
I know a lot of people that do, but if I got my paints and my art there,
a
couple hits. See, for me, and it's funny how everybody's physiology is different. I just zone in and work, and I feel exhilarated and excited to work on it. A little coffee's helpful too,
Yeah, see, you balance it out a little bit.
Right now, I'm drinking green tea. That's a go-to.
See, right here, green tea. Cheers from through Zoom.
That's it. And
my friend,
staying healthy and in shape is high priority.
It is. It's a must. Like if you don't have your health, the wheels fall off. I mean, I've even been dealing with this back thing I've had for a while, and I've still been able to work, thankfully. But I had about a month and a half where I was off, and if you don't have your health, you can't do anything. And it's also
that's primary.
Psychological impact.
Staying healthy and staying in shape, and just because if you're feeling sluggish and depressed, you're never going to do this kind of thing. You know what I mean?
You can't. Yeah. And the business side as well. You can't. There's no way.
I know.
Going back to the weed thing, I had a buddy who talk about different physiologies. Like he would smoke weed and go to the gym, and he would be like, I can zero in on the muscle, and for him, it worked like a charm. But for me, I wouldn't have been able to make it out the front door,
Right. But, I know it's interesting.
It is interesting.
I know some people like me that use it for creative purposes, and then other people doesn't work for them at all for a number of reasons. So
I could do that with alcohol. Alcohol was my weed. I could get in the creative mindset like no other when I was drinking. But but it also has that dark turn where
that's true.
Can't focus
I know
anymore.
people like that as well. That for me, I've never been a problem drinker. I'll have a glass of wine or two or a beer occasionally or with dinner, but I never really drink and do art. It didn't work for me that way. It's more for like relaxing and having a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, no, I get that too. Well, let me ask you one more, and then we'll kind of get this going. Let you get on with your day. Let's do this. Advice to young Mike, any age, with all your wisdom now.
I don't have a lot of regrets, and my path was my path, and I kind of stuck to my path, like I told you earlier. Let's see, what advice? I guess don't take crazy chances, like go cliff diving, stuff like that. As a young artist, I guess I did what I should have done or wanted to do. So I'm not sure.
No regrets.
Yeah.
For example, did you have any fears or anything? Did you take things too seriously? Did you get anxiety? Did you whatever? Was there something that you think you could have tweaked to make it better, or are you just happy with the path 100%?
Let me think. What could have I done differently? I mean, we could all do a lot of things differently, but everything's like a circumstance of time and opportunity. And luckily, I was aware of opportunities. And so I was always like that in terms of seeing doors that, but I guess if I could give myself advice, slow down and take a better look at opportunities that present themselves. Maybe I missed some things, or maybe I tried to rush. I think that might have been something I would have said, slow down and analyze what you're doing. And I know what else I would say. I would say, don't waste your time trying to keep everybody happy.
Oh my God. Perfect.
And that's like what my problem has been all my life, is like always trying to say yes to everybody and
people pleaser.
Always trying to keep everybody happy. That's the motto of my company, Happy Life Productions. The subtitle's keeping you happy.
So you got to live up to your name.
Hey, right. But you know what? You can get dragged down roads you don't want to get dragged down. You can waste a lot of time. You can bark up the wrong tree. You can get ripped off. You can have bad experiences. And we all have to, explore our options. But I think if you're too eager to say yes to everything, it's going to get you in trouble. And that's the advice for my younger self.
I love it. I love it. That is perfect advice. Mm-hmm. And something I could have used myself as a people pleaser, as a reformed people pleaser. Yeah.
If I'm somewhere, and I'll always try to give somebody, respect in a conversation, but some people want to just trap you and talk for, hours on end, and you got another agenda or something to do. You know what I mean? Not right now, you and me, but
no. In a gallery situation, you can get cornered and they can monopolize all your time. You're like, I got to talk to this person. I got to talk to this person. Yeah.
And they want to tell you all about, 10 years ago, I could have done this. You should have seen what I was doing. They want to tell you their whole life story,
Horrible. Yeah, I get it. I know. I can't. I have a hard time saying no and getting out of those situations myself. So.
Oh, you know what I do
Great
now?
Advice.
Like, I know some people that come around my gallery, because I'm not always there, but I do go there on Saturdays and other times. And some of these people I know are like this. I'll run in the back and hide. I'm like, tell me when they're gone.
That's
because
perfect.
I know what's going to happen.
That's so perfect. I know we got to come up with some sort of defense, like in person when you're standing right there looking at the person. You got to come up with that. Like, I don't know if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, but he does he does a thing where he says the big goodbye, where he he will avoid somebody the whole night. And then at the very end, he'll come and I give him the big goodbye, and hey, I didn't get a chance to talk to you. Something like that might work. But Mike,
sometimes I just sneak out the back door and don't even say goodbye.
Oh, see, there you go.
At a public thing.
The big farewell.
Right.
Well, I guess I should ask before we sum up, is there anything you want to leave us with, or do you feel pretty good about what we talked about?
Good. Yeah. I'm
Cool.
happy we got a chance to talk, and
Me too.
And thank you for the opportunity.
For sure. Thanks for making time and for sharing your story. And everybody listening, check out Mike's stuff. It's at Mike DuBois. You said MikeDuBois.net, correct?
MikeDuBois.net. Yeah.
Yep. Check all that. And then Happy Life. Is it Happy Life Productions or is it just
Happy
Happy
Life
Life?
Productions.com. Yeah.
HappyLifeProductions.com.
And we're having a really cool poster show, and you can check it out on the BearsvilleCenter.com. It hasn't been publicized yet, but it's a project I'm working on right now to bring rock art and music poster artists together for 2 days, May 14th and 15th of this year.
Nice. That's the one you were telling me about checking out. Cool.
Yeah.
And you said Bearsville?
Bearsville, yeah. BearsvilleCenter.com.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
We'll check it out. And stick around for a minute because I want to ask you a question off interview. But thanks so much, Mike. It's been really fun.
All right. Take care, man.
All right, you too. This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.